Welcome to Concert Pipeline. I'm Steve Jones. Today on the program, we have Peter Salett. Also have a review of Ben Kweller's show at the Independent in San Francisco. But notably, for this open and for the connecting pieces, I'm coming at you from Red Rocks Amphitheater in Morrison, Colorado, outside of Denver, where 2 nights ago I saw one of the most amazing shows I've ever seen. Andrew McMahon brought all 3 of his bands, Something Corporate, Jack's Mannequin, and Andrew McMahon in the Wilderness, to this very amphitheater, sold out show. It was incredible, but I'm going to save that. We're going to get to that review in a couple weeks on the program as we near our 500th episode, in which Andrew McMahon will be featured on our 500th episode. Really excited to bring that. Did a joint interview with Steve from Something in the Wilderness podcast. And we're going to bring that to celebrate my 500th episode, his 100th song, and Andrew McMahon's Everything in Transit, 20 years of transit and 20 years of him being cancer-free as well, which is pretty exciting. So we're not going to talk about that right now, but I figured before I head back to California, I wanted to take in this beautiful landscape one more time and just do a podcast from here, really, and talk about what's going on the show and where better place for there to be. So they are doing sound checks for a show that's here tonight. But one of the cool things about this amphitheater is that that you can go. It's open to the public until they shut it to finish preparing for a show that evening. Cake was here last night. And I came here yesterday as well, went to the visitor center and got to be immersed in all the history of this venue. There's a couple walls where they list every artist that's ever played at Red Rocks. And it is so cool. I saw Weird Al's name on the wall that from the show I saw him at in 2019, and just got to see so much history and be a part of this history. And so doing the show from here right now. So like I said, we have a Ben Kweller review. This was a last minute show that I decided to go to a couple nights ago, the night before I came to Colorado for this show at Red Rocks. And I decided pretty much for the moment. I got a ticket the night before the show, but I wasn't planning on going originally when Ben Kweller announced the show because I had to leave for Colorado early the next morning. But then I just decided, fuck it, I got to go to the show. Ben Kweller's awesome. They put on a really incredible show, and I don't want to miss it. So, and I don't regret having gone to the show and then getting up really early to go to the airport. So let's talk about the show a little bit. It was at the Independent in San Francisco, and I get to the area a little bit early, so I go stand. There wasn't a line, but I stand against the venue. I was the first in line, and then the Christopher Mintz-Plasse, more famously known as McLovin from Superbad, he's Ben Kweller's bassist. He came out with Ryan Dean, who's the drummer. So I recognized him. I interviewed him a couple years back and said, hey, to them, as they were going to make tacos before dinner, and then they went off and went into the show, and they they had this great opener. It was funny. Going to finish this segment right here because I got cut off due to heat warming on my phone. But Ben Kweller had a 21-year-old artist named Ryman open up for him, took him out on his first tour, found him on TikTok, and really dug his vibe and his music. And this kid was so appreciative of this opportunity to get to play and open for Ben Kweller. It was incredible. And he had some good jams too. He had some good songs that he did. So really enjoyed that. But let's get into Ben Kweller right now, because that's who I went to see, and I've been such a fan of Ben Kweller's over the years, since 2005 or so, maybe 2004, somewhere around there. And his self-titled album was on repeat for me so much. I even got in this car accident driving down to a job interview, and I was listening to his album at the time, and then I had hospital bed stuck in my head for so long. But we didn't need to talk about all that old stuff. That's all in the past. But we're going to talk about this show at the Independent. Ben Kweller came out and just him on a piano, which is so bold, such something I don't know that I've ever seen an artist just do when they have a full band come out, just them on a piano. But he came out and he played 13, which is one of my favorite Ben Kweller songs, and it was beautiful. And I'm going to share that with you now. So here is Ben Kweller playing 13 from the Independent in San Francisco.
We've been in the rain, we've been on the mountain, we've been around the fire, in fancy hotels, drink water from farm wells, we sang with the choir. I kissed your dry lips, we jumped off the high cliffs and splashed down below, skin to skin in the salty river, made love in the shadows. Read books to each other, read the mind of the other, flew 1,000 jets. We laughed and we cried at movies in real life and our ridiculous bets. In the moonlight at midnight, we press against back doors and wood floors, and you never faked it. Infrequently, we ignored our love, but we could never mistake it. On the front porch, fell in love on the telephone, without the physical wreck. And you gave me the necklace that used to hang around your mother's neck. And we questioned religion, gave bread to the pigeons. Oh, we learned how to pray, and we stood by the ocean, turned our hearts into one. We laid in bed all day. Damage of gossip and true lies. We've seen the sun go down. Had passion in mankind, with passion freak out. We built this wasn't
That was 13 by Ben Kweller from his show at the Independent in San Francisco. Let's talk a little bit more about the concert. Ben then brought out his whole band. I do want to say as well, just met some cool people at the show, Ben Kweller show. Some 22-year-old guys who were up from San Diego house sitting, and then this other guy who's in a video game, NBA 2K or something maybe, and he's a commentator there. And we got to chatting for a bit. So some really cool people that I met at that show, which was a lot of fun, and we just got to share our fandom of Ben Kweller and his music, um, and it was really enjoyable. Ben went on to play some of his other hits from back in the day, as well as some new songs off his new album, and he just had a really awesome set. His Christmas Floss, a lot of people know him as McLovin, but he's now Ben Queller's bassist. He used to be in a band called Main Man with Ryan Dean, the drummer, and then they opened for Ben Kweller. That's when I interviewed him originally. You can check that on an old episode of Concert Pipeline, and now they're just in Ben's band, and they put on a really fun show. Played the hits, got connected with the crowd really well, also, which was fun. And Ben just showed total appreciation, acknowledged that he didn't come to San Francisco on his like anniversary 20th anniversary tour or what have you, but was happy to be back. And then at the end of the show, Chris gave me Ben's set list, and Ben gave me his guitar pick from the show. It saw how much fun I was having, and I think recognized me, and gave me the swag. So I really enjoyed it, and I want to thank Ben for coming to the Bay Area, and I'm glad I didn't miss it. All right. So let's move on to the bulk of the program, which is going to be my interview with Peter Salett. So I had a chance to interview Peter. We're going to let the interview talk for itself. Let's go ahead and let's bring in Peter Salett. Peter,
Hey, how's it going, Steve?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Doing all right.
Yeah. How are things out in New York right now?
They're very, very stormy. We're about to get hit. It's very thundery and lightning, uh, thunder and lightning outside right now. So,
And
uh,
and on top of that, and I'm sure it's pretty humid, right?
it is humid. Yeah.
Yeah, I know this time of year it gets pretty muggy, and it's like, uh,
Oh, I mean, today was not the worst of the days, but we've had some days where, yeah, you're just walking through a soup. You feel just absolutely terrible. It doesn't even have to be that hot, and it's just disgusting out.
how do you even go outside?
I know. Where do you live?
I live in California myself, and we don't get the humidity like that. Sometimes we get the heat,
Where
but
in California are you?
outside of Sacramento,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So, I don't know. It's always interesting. I'm like, it's been many years since I've been to New York, but I mean, it was
Uh,
around this time of the year. And I just remember going down to the subway and not being able to breathe hardly and everything. And just, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's it's definitely challenging, definitely challenging. But you should come some other time of the year. It's not always this disgusting. So
Okay. Okay. It shouldn't stray me away for
no,
years and years.
no,
Okay.
no, don't let it scar you.
Okay, okay, I'll take that up. Yeah, so thanks for taking the time today. I appreciate it. I'm obviously going to dive into your music and more.
Hmm.
I like to kind of start at the beginning a little bit and kind of when we can and kind of talk about what music was on in your household when you were a kid. What were your parents listening to? What kind of were some of those early influences?
Most often I think the record that was on was Carole King's Tapestry, which I guess really makes sense. I hadn't put it all together. But yes, my parents weren't exactly huge music lovers, and Tapestry was like the most popular thing ever. It was the thing that even the music lovers had in their house. and even the
Mhm.
people that didn't love music had in their house. Um, but yeah, that was a big one growing up, and I can remember, yeah, going to see. My dad took me to see Elton John when I was probably like 9 or 10 years old. We had a place. I grew up in Columbia, Maryland, and we had an amazing concert venue called Merriweather Post Pavilion, which still exists. It's a big shed, and it was, people came from all around to go to Merriweather Post Pavilion. And I can still very much remember Elton John playing, and going to see him when I was really young, and he would play, these songs, and then all of a sudden he started speaking, and I was completely shocked that he had an English accent. It was just like the biggest shock to me. Could not believe it. He would sing in this kind of Southern American accent, and then he would start speaking, and you're like, what is happening here? Um, but yeah, it blew my mind. It was so incredible.
The Brits, they can do that, a lot. Like actors too, come here and put on do American accents better than we can, and take the jobs, and then you hear them in interviews, and you're like, wait, what?
Right, exactly. It's hard. What's funny is that, as an actor, that makes sense because you're inhabiting a character. Someone says you're an American, your character's American, so the Brits can say, "Oh, I'll do an American accent." But what's interesting is that so many of those, the British acts from, a particular era, they wanted to sound American as they sang, and they were singing in theory as themselves. Now, of course, Elton John was not named Elton John when he was
No.
born. So he's in essence playing a character who is this, you know, American musician, basically, but the as a musician, I think we've, kind of post singer songwriter movement. There's been that feeling of, oh, this is a personal statement that somebody is making. I'm revealing something of myself. And what's interesting in all those British groups is that but they were singing in these, they were singing in voices that they had essentially imported. I mean, it happens all the time. People pick up voices that they want to sound like, but it's interesting in that context. I can
Yeah.
remember, interestingly enough, it was like, I don't know, maybe I was in high school when I first heard Billy Bragg, and it was like, oh wow, that's so interesting. Here's a guy singing in his original real accent, and that was kind of shocking to me. It was beautiful. I thought it was amazing, and he's an incredible songwriter. It was really interesting to hear him sing and think, oh right, all these other guys that are singing, and Mick Jagger's got his kind of fake Southern drawl on a lot of his songs and all that stuff. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And that early Elton show, was that your idea, or did he tag you along because
He
you?
must have taken me. I don't think I knew Elton John at that point. I think he just kind of took me. Um, so
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And do you think that was partial influence for you wanting to be a musician at all, or kind of wanting to be in the entertainment industry?
I was growing up, I was more of a theater kid. I kind of, sometimes it's the little things when you're younger. Someone said, "Oh, you have a nice voice," and I was like, "Oh, I've got a nice voice. Well, I guess I do. Wow, okay. Let me join chorus. Let me be in the chorus, and let me just sing." And then, my parents, were both working, and we had kind of like um, there was a woman who was taking care of us after school, that kind of thing. So she, loved to act in the community theater programs. And one day, she said, "Listen, I'm sorry, but I have to take you to an audition because I have an audition for this community theater program, this community theater production of South Pacific." And so I said, okay, whatever. I was just under her care. It was the middle of the afternoon. So we go, and South Pacific, there are these parts for kids, and they said, "Oh, well, do you can you sing something for us? And so I sang something, and I ended up getting a part. So I had to, like, my parents came home, and she was like, "Hey, listen, your son's been cast in this community theater production." Um, so really, as a kid, I did a lot of musical theater and theater, um, and uh, and it wasn't until I really got to high school that I had a couple of friends that I thought were cool, and they had guitars, and
Mm.
they said, "Oh, I just thought it was cool." So I came home, I was like, asked for Christmas for a guitar, and I think one thing that I would have actually, I'll backtrack for a second to say that I had taken piano lessons when I was maybe like, I don't know, 10 years old. Well, everything is when I'm 10, but just something
Of
right
course.
in that area. And I wasn't successful with the piano lessons necessarily, but at a certain point I found something that I had written in. I couldn't really write music, but I had written something, and it was like the impulse to, like, a lot of people play guitar and they say, "How can I imitate this? How can I want to, just repeat these other songs." For me, the and it's continued to this day, the technical aspect of being like a guitar player that can shred or do all these things, that was kind of like less interesting to me than the creative part. So when I was in high school, a junior in high school, and I got my first guitar, all of a sudden it was just like, oh, yeah, sure, I could learn a James Taylor song or a Cat Stevens songs or all those like really folky great songs, and I did learn some of them, but equally important was just this impulse to just start writing. Nobody had to say like, why don't you write a song? It just was like, oh, I just want to write now. I just want to write. And
Yeah.
um so it's kind of like once, and it was just an avenue for expression, I guess.
Yeah. Did you teach yourself to play the guitar? Did you take lessons or?
I pretty much taught myself. I mean, I took kind of lessons from friends and that kind of thing. And at a certain point, much later in life, I took, music theory and you know, my, you know, became much more trained as a musician. But initially, my impulse was really just pick up a guitar, campfire style, you know, what can I play that means something to me, even if it's super simple.
And when you were writing songs, did you like uh, put together a band with these friends, or did you, how did you kind of get these songs out into the world, or did you hold them close?
I didn't really, those very, very early songs, I didn't particularly get out into the world. Um, I had a friend that I played with in college that was kind of like, we were like a little duo together. And then after college, I actually moved to Alaska for a little while,
Wow.
uh, and I was writing songs and kind of in a little duo. And he was actually a mandolin player, so I was playing acoustic guitar, he was playing mandolin, and we would like tour farmers markets and things like that. Total hippie,
Yeah, yeah.
total hippie shit. And yeah, so but basically, I have pretty much led a band. It's been people kind of, I mean, I've played in other types of stuff, but it's been people playing my songs. That's been the general way that it seemed to work for me. Kind
Yeah.
of recruiting. Now, I'm about to play a show in New York here at Joe's Pub to do a record release for these two albums, and I am playing with a group of musicians that I've been making music with for 30 years, some of them.
Wow.
So it's like uh so yes, you can't call it a band in that they don't only play with me, but in terms of that type of longevity and communication that musicians have, that kind of like nonverbal communication, that kind of thing. I go very deep with all these guys. So it's not like all hired hands or anything like that.
Yeah. So some of them played on your first album, I imagine, Painting for These Days.
Yes, the drummer Bill Dobrow played on Paintings of These Days. Yeah.
And so tell me kind of about pulling that together. What was it comfortable for you to make that first album? What was the process?
I had made a couple of cassette tapes before that because that's what we used to do. Could you see the lightning
I
back?
saw it, yes.
There's the thunder.
And I hear it.
Yeah,
Yes, the
yeah.
thunder roars.
Yes. So appropriately for the waiting on a rainstorm. Um, yeah, I had made a cassette tape in New York, um, and with some amazing musicians, including with my buddy Bill, who's Bill Dobrow, who's on drums, and Bill's gone on to play with so many great people. He was in the Black Crowes for a while.
Oh wow. Okay.
He's plays with Yoko Ono, and like it's a whole wide, disparate type of. He does so many different things. Great jazz drummer as well. And Anthony Wilson played on that first tape, and Anthony, um, incredible musician. Anthony has been Diana Krall's longtime guitar player for many years, one of the great jazz guitar players in the world. Um, so we were playing my music, and it was pretty good. The tape was pretty good. Um, and I had tried other things before that. I had a demo deal on Epic Records in the mid '90s, and so just trying to work and trying to make music and see what I could get going. Um, and Paintings of These Days, I had a collection of songs, and a guy I knew named Pete Kepler, who's a great sound engineer, who still does live sound for all sorts of people, from Nine Inch Nails to Katy Perry. Um,
Wow.
he uh, had access to Philip Glass's studio, The Looking Glass, at night.
Oh, okay.
During the day, Philip would be in there, or I mean, amazing people. Bowie would be in there, or whoever. And then at night, they would turn the keys over, and they'd give kids a chance, basically. And so I cut Paintings of These Days at night at the Looking Glass, at Philip Glass's studio, and yeah, so that it was a great experience. I love doing that. Um, and it was, really fun to actually that recording was the first time that I really felt like um, I made something that kind of like sounded really like myself, and that I was able to um, listen to previous recordings
Yeah.
and um, find places where I was really holding a lot of tension in my voice and kind of mistaking tension for emotion. And
Yeah.
they're different things. And so that was yeah, it was a great experience, and that was a really fun time for me musically in New York, that mid to late '90s, where um I could snap my fingers and have a couple hundred people show up. I had big long dreadlocks. I played acoustic guitar still, but I played it through an amp. It was really kind of like rocking acoustic guitar. And my favorite haunt in that era was CBGB's Gallery. So it was
Okay.
right next door to CBGB's, the legendary club,
Yeah.
opened CB's Gallery, and CB's Gallery was for like acoustic type acts, but they had all sorts of people. Like I don't know if you know Soul Coughing. There's a
No, I don't think so.
great band of the '90s. Lots of people would come out of there, and so it was a yeah, it was a really cool kind of venue. Everybody knew to come to the show or whatever, and an era before cell phones and anything like that, we figured out how to get people to come to our shows. Um, and I would do midnight shows, and we would clear all the tables and chairs. People would come and kind of dance to this acoustic music. We'd play till 2:30 in the morning, and then
Wow.
we'd go out afterwards and party from there. So it was a kind of glorious era, when we all seemed to have a lot of energy.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So let's talk about the double album. I mean, you've done I think 9 albums leading up to these 2 albums. So before we get into specifics with the albums, I'm kind of curious about the approach and kind of what you wanted to kind of create going into these albums, having all the experience that led up to where we're at right now.
I think that I started to write the songs um, at kind of an intense period in my life, and we had spent a bunch of time in Los Angeles, working. I was working in the movies, and kind of made the decision as a family that we wanted to move back to New York. It's kind of where we felt a little more grounded, and I started to write these songs, and um, I started to, I say this on the record, like just one day by chance, I tuned my guitar, the low string down
To see.
to C, and it was like the entire, I'd been playing guitar for so many years, and the thing that was interesting is like I didn't have to necessarily like relearn a lot of chords. Sometimes you play in an open tuning and you're like, oh, this is how I make this chord. Oh, I wouldn't normally put my fingers in this place to make this chord, but I have to learn a whole thing. With the drop C, do you play guitar?
I don't know.
Okay, so but with the drop C, I could play a lot of chords with the similar hand finger placement,
Hmm.
but it turned it into different chords. So chords that became just much more intricate and complex, um, and I started to really get into finger picking, and so when I decided to record it, I decided to use my buddy Jeff Hill, and Jeff's another guy that I played with. I don't know if I played with him, let's say for 20 years, something like that. And Jeff, who's a beautiful musician, Jeff was on all the early Rufus Wainwright records, and he's played with so many different incredible musicians. Great bass player. And so we decided, I went into the studio with him, and it was like he really wanted to try this miking technique, which called mid-side, which is two mics on top of one another, and you spread the bottom one out to stereo, and it gives this real three-dimensionality to the performance, and also, but what I really wanted to do was play and sing at the same time, and I wanted the music, there's such a tendency to kind of like to in the era before everyone was using programmed drums, we you would often record the drums first,
Right.
and it could be to a click track, or people could be kind of playing together, but everything else was scratch. You were really just trying to record the drums, and then everything would lock into the drums afterwards. And with this, I didn't want to do that. I wanted it to be, as I say, non-metronomic. I think I really wanted the kind of ebb and flow, that it feels like more natural in a way. And then a
Yeah.
lot of the songs started taking on this quality, and I really started to conceptualize writing and constructing a longer piece of music. I was making some music for dance at the time. And the thing about making music for dance is dance often uses all sorts of different sounds. You don't have to be a rhythm machine to make music for especially modern dance. Sometimes they like it, but sometimes they don't. They want something that's much more free feeling. And they also use a lot of sounds. And so it's like, oh, I can integrate this kind of like the um, you know, what I mean, now look, Pink Floyd has been doing this for, had been doing this for years. It's not like some new concept, But I was like, what if I could bring in a lot of external sounds? And then I started thinking, what if the sounds really started dealing with the rain and ocean and that kind of thing? And so
Bird chirping and all. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. And so I grabbed some sounds, I bought some sounds, but I recorded a lot of the music myself, I mean, a lot of the sounds myself, just, on my iPhone very simply.
Yeah.
And I had worked with this string arranger, Chris Carmichael, who I'd worked with him on a couple of movies. And Chris is just hands down to me just one of the great musicians of our time. And he's done music, he's done, string arrangements for Taylor Swift and Tim McGraw and Kathy Mattea,
Wow.
like a lot of these country folks. Um, but when we worked on the movies together, I just was amazed at how he could build his orchestrations and how, um, and so my thought was, okay, I'm going to play and sing these tracks. So I don't have to think then about doing a lot of overdubbing or anything like that. I'm going to take the time to really learn how to play these songs. And then we'll send them to Chris. Chris is going to layer his strings on there because he doesn't need the rhythm. He can just listen and figure out where the melodies are going to go and how to ebb and flow with me.
Yeah.
After that, we'll put on all the other instruments. So then I had my drummer, then Bill came in and put on drums. And sometimes the drums were hard to figure out. Well, it's slowing down and speeding up. How do we do this? But we would eventually kind of figure out where to find the medium point. And then it was just fun to add in all these other instruments, to add in timpani and vibraphone and have, harp, and French horn and
Yeah.
kind of thing. So, yeah, that was kind of the process, and then really trying to figure out how do I stitch it all together? How do I order these pieces? How do I make sure that I have just little instrumental interstitial guitar parts and I feel like with the opening of Sweet for the Summer Rain, with the wind and the ocean sounds and all that stuff,
Yeah.
to me, you can tell me what you think, but to me, it kind of clues people in to say, okay, this is not like a pop record.
No, no.
Let me
And
take a breath. Let me take a breath here and just like feel what this feels like.
oh yeah, and then it moves into the violin and
Yeah,
progresses from there. And yeah, and obviously, yeah, it starts out slow. You don't obviously don't have any lyrics or vocals, at the beginning. You're
yeah,
easing into it, for sure. So
yeah,
and and you want, I know you want people to listen to it like as a whole in the album. So what as I'm kind of approaching this, I'm like, okay, you know, in the digital age, which is
yeah.
where I think most people will be listening to it. Like
Yes.
you have them as separate albums, so but they're being released together. So do you want people to listen to "Sweet for the Summer Rain" and then "Dance in the Yellow Leaf"? Do you have a preference? Do you what?
I I mean, I wrote them in that order, Sweet
Uh huh.
first and Dance, and like on at Joe's Pub on Thursday, I will perform them in that order.
Okay, and you're doing it in its entirety then,
I am
both
doing
albums,
both albums. Yes. Yeah.
with the bonus stuff too, or how does that work?
With the bonus stuff, you mean the
Like the wind and everything that's a
yes,
part of it, like
absolutely everything. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
wow.
I'll have a my good friend Don Piper, who's worked with me on so many things, playing music and then also doing technical stuff, and Don will be triggering the sounds. Yeah. So it's kind of a, it's a bit of a theatrical production, and then I have this amazing illustrator, Michael Arthur, who will be drawing while we play.
Wow. So like behind you sort of thing, you
Yes, so
just
on a screen, you'll see they'll be drawing, but it'll be projected onto a screen behind us. So you can really, in a way, if you choose to, you can kind of follow his imaginings of what's going on.
wow, that's cool. Like how much did you prepare for this show on Friday? Like what did you tell me about what you put into it?
Well, uh, the lucky thing is that I had someone take Chris's arrangements and actually, make them into sheet music that we could play. So when I've done this show a couple times before, but not for many years. Um, so the string players are reading music and everybody's reading music mostly. For me
Mm-hmm.
personally, the challenge was, okay, this is essentially two half-hour pieces that I'm finger picking and I can't really, I shouldn't really miss a note, because everybody is, depending on me. So it's not like playing a rock show where you're like, you play a song and then you're like, hey everybody, blah blah blah, and you take a drink of water and and then you're like, wait, what's next? And that kind of thing. Or so um so the process for me has been intense, which has been great to just really dig in and practice and play them over and over again, work on my voice and how I'm going to sing them, and just really, really try to dig into each song and essentially relearn it, which has been a really, actually, it's been a fun process. In the beginning, it was kind of like daunting, thinking, can I do this? Can I actually get my brain back into that space and really play these all the way, all the way through. But it's come together really well. And then we're just gonna have I had a rehearsal with the percussionists, the drums and percussion today, and but my big I'll really just have one big rehearsal with the band on Wednesday, and then we'll perform it on Thursday. So.
Wow, wow, that's really cool. Let's talk about some of the themes and what goes into some of the songs, like the writing part of it, right? So there's some death undertones, and even beyond death, like against the grain is kind of the initial shock of death, and then kind of finding your way past that, right? So tell me kind of about writing that song.
Yeah, I think that the songs as I was writing them, I didn't necessarily write them all in order, but I wanted them all to, in essence, kind of like if death is at the center, I wanted them all to kind of circle death. So be in some way related to death, whether it's ringing of the bells, to think like I hear the ringing of the bells, meaning I know that death is in the air, to, as you say, against the grain, which is like, oh my God, this is it, it's happened. We crashing the sound, to think like, you know, there's an the angels are flying or something, we're lifting now. So really wanting to, and then when I ordered it, all of a sudden it was like, okay, this makes sense. And thinking about it is not like a it's not a narrative story in the way that a musical is a narrative, or most movies are narratives that you can kind of follow along. But I wanted it to I want it to feel like just a real emotional journey through what it is like to experience the death of someone close to you, and move through that. And I think both pieces work together in that way, where it comes at a certain point in Sweet for the Summer Rain, um, and then Dance of the Yellow Leaf is moving more. We're moving more away from the shock of it, and so we're moving into other things that are kind of happening, I guess, in my life, but still regarding death and and what that is, um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was interested in Ghost Above My Bed, because that's about an experience that you had when you were 17.
It is, yes. That's one song that I just kind of I thought I would just, yeah, yeah, that is. It's an experience that I had where I really feel like there was a light form above me.
Yeah,
Um and and yeah, trying to kind of again think about what that feeling is like, to kind of get back into that feeling, that kind of the the mystery of it all, that we don't kind of know everything, and that there are some things that happen that are just inexplicable to us. Um,
yeah.
and um, and so yeah, that's a description of an experience that I had. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. It's one of those things, because I think we're I mean, you're exploring a lot of these things, and obviously, there people have different beliefs over everything, and
Yeah,
and I don't necessarily, believe the things that I haven't really seen, but
yeah,
I had one experience when after my dog died,
uh-huh.
where I wasn't sleeping well in my bed, so I went and slept on the couch, and then it's just like this moment before waking up where he was just. I felt the presence right there, kind of felt the, right of it in my face, sort of
Yeah,
thing. But and
yeah,
that's a, and that's kind of a surreal experience that I, can kind of put there.
yeah. And I think it is real. I think that, one thing I've been thinking about a lot is that, you know, there's the kind of the adage that people exist within the people that remember them, right? So you have that kind of feeling, but also that in a way that wherever we have been, and I talk about this a little bit or sing about this a little bit in an opaque way in Vision of the Sky on the
Mhm.
second album, and that kind of that feeling that somebody's presence is still there. You think like, oh, that's where my dog always used to sit or wherever it is. And it's like, right, on some timeline, they're still there, right?
Mhm.
It's you're not that distanced from them. They are still there in if time is a line, then no. But if all time exists at the same time, then the dog is still there, or that loved one is still sitting in that chair, or whatever that is. And I think we feel that as humans a lot. Like I know when I've lost people, my mind goes back to if I pass the corner where that was the last conversation that I had with them was on that corner. When I pass that corner, I'm I'm struck and my brain goes there and I see
Yeah.
them and it's like, okay, well, if I'm seeing them, aren't they there? Like where does that exist? So I think there's a way that I'm kind of trying to talk about that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. No, that makes sense. I want to talk about your favorite line in the album. It's from "Suddenly the Leaves." All will be remembered. All is left to come.
Yeah.
Uh, tell me about that.
Well, I think it's
It's kind
exactly
of
what we're
right on.
it's exactly what we're talking about which is to say that again, if we don't view time just as a line moving forward, we say all will be remembered, meaning that, everything that has happened in some way is remembered in some way in the collective unconscious or just in the genetic unconscious that we've been passed down through generations. Events that happen can be passed down through generations. Certainly, emotional scarring that happens can move through generations, right? That's actually a scientific thing with genes, right? They can, and so and all is left to come. So it's the same
Mhm.
thing, which is to say that everything yet to happen is left to come. So yeah, it's that same idea.
Yeah, that's cool. So I want to talk about some of the things that you kind of alluded to earlier, but we didn't touch on your music and movies and kind of some of your involvement. I know, like you've had little bit parts in some of our generation's like best comedies, I'd say, and
Yeah,
and so I have to ask about them. Like
sure,
super
sure.
super. Tell me about your experience on
Well,
Superbad.
okay, so Superbad is funny because Superbad, I get a credit for that, which was very kind of the producer, who's a friend of mine. You can't really see me in Superbad. They basically cut me out of Superbad. You can kind of see my hair at one point. Um, that was a great week of work and just kind of like, I had Jonah Hill had come to a show of mine and my friend who produced that movie, she knew basically, hunting SAG insurance is a real thing because SAG has great health insurance, and health insurance, especially kind of pre-Obama, was like just really hard to get, and so um, so so yeah, she decided to stick me in that movie, but that was a lot of fun to be on the set for. I was on the set for this giant party scene, which had all these people in it, and it's funny because she could have put me in one of the scenes that was in the room, and I probably would have stuck in the movie. I was in this other scene, and I had a couple of lines, and I had one line that the editor told me, like in all the screenings, would get a laugh. Um, but the issue was is that the actor that I said it to did not really respond. So it was like, and look, I wasn't a character in the movie particularly, and that's the stuff that gets on the cutting room floor. So yes, I love being a part of Superbad. Let's put it that way. And Greg Mottola is a fantastic director. If you've ever seen his mid-90s movie Day Trippers, it's a classic of the kind of mid-90s. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Wet Hot American Summer, and you even recently did a. I mean, well, at the beginning of COVID, kind of. I think did with a virtual reading of the the
We
movie.
did it for, I think it was the Pennsylvania Democratic Party, potentially, something like
Uh-huh.
that. Um, yeah, Wet Hot, basically, when I was playing in New York, in the mid 90s, um, I think maybe because I had started as an actor a little bit. So a lot of my friends were actors, friends from college, friends from all these places. We were all in our mid 20s in New York City. And so I used to have all of these actors and all these comedians and painters and directors, and just it was a scene filled with young, ambitious uh, artists who wanted to do good work and also wanted to stay out late and get in trouble. So uh, I had gone to school with a guy named Michael Showalter,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
Showalter had spent 1 year at NYU, and then he came to Brown, which is where I went. And so he had, in that 1 year at NYU, joined a comedy troupe called, eventually they were called The State.
The state. Yeah. Yeah.
And so actually there's a great documentary on The State, which just got finished. I watched it at the Tribeca Film Festival. It's really fun. Um, and um, so I got introduced to all the guys from the state, and one of my jokes
Mhm.
is that I've played four state weddings. So
Oh, really?
so all those guys and Carrie Kenny, they were all really close friends of mine. Michael Showalter used to draw my flyers.
Oh,
So,
really?
yeah,
Wow.
so Showalter made all my flyers. And Thomas Lennon was
Uh-huh. Yeah.
he used to change my guitar strings when I broke a string. So
And Dave Foley and
not Dave Foley. He's Kids in the Hall.
oh, Rob that. Sorry. No, no, no.
Yeah.
I don't know how
So,
that's set up. I knew that.
but the state, I mean, just yeah, Michael Ian
Michael
Black,
in Black. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
yeah, and Ken Marino and Joe Latrulio, who was in Superbad, and he's on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and
Yep.
I mean, so everyone went on to do amazingly well. David Wayne. So 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 then when David and Michael were writing Wet Hot American Summer, they were still struggling to try and figure out how to, they the state had come and gone. They weren't at some high point in their careers, and so I took part in some initial readings for that movie, not playing a real character. Um, and then when they actually got the movie made, and basically, even though that movie has in it Bradley Cooper, Liz Banks,
Jen,
Amy
Jennifer
Powell.
Aniston. Oh no, why no, I'm thinking I'm moving on to Wanderlust. Sorry,
Yeah,
my
yeah.
brain.
So
Sorry.
yeah, it's okay. So that Wet Hot had so many people that went on to do incredibly well.
Yeah.
Uh, it was Janine Garofalo that got that movie made because
Wow.
Janine was the star at the time. and so and so they had this little bit part for me, and so while I was on set, I just wrote this rock and roll song. I kind of like, I don't know, I wanted to do like a Billy Squier kind of thing. And then when it came time to record that song, they had, all these discussions about it, and they decided, okay, we're going to use your song as the closing credit song, but we want you to re-record it. And I did. I re-recorded it at Teddy Shapiro's studio when he would lived in New York. And Teddy Shapiro's incredible composer. I'm listing everybody's credits. I don't know.
Yeah,
You can keep it or you can cut it all. Um,
good.
but Teddy Shapiro is an incredible composer. He did so many comedies. But recently he what's the Adam Scott show? Is it Severance?
Oh,
What's
Adam Scott. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that new show? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Teddy did the music for that. I mean,
that's where I know his name because yeah, I heard him on their podcast. I watched that show. I listened to their yeah. So
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
I was familiar with the name, but that you just clicked it for me. Thank you.
And so many movies, old school, and I mean, so many movies.
Mhm.
Incredible composer. But so we went to his place, and I recorded that song in a different fashion with like saxophone and kind of different style. But that was a blast to be a part of, to be a part of that crew, to really be, in with that group of really talented people, making a super, super silly movie that somehow had some magic to it that then, years later people bring it up and they want to, but nobody saw it, by the way. When it came out,
It,
nobody saw it.
it was
Not
one of those sleepers that just like it needed to be shelved, but it was ahead of its time, right? Like yeah.
it was something. It was maybe it was ahead of its time. It just like it was the kind of thing where literally nobody saw it in the theater, but also, I mean, full disclosure, it came out a full maybe 3 weeks before 9/11.
Mm.
But but even if that hadn't happened, nobody would have seen it. But about 5 or 6 years later, they, you know, I they decided to have these midnight show or these screenings in Times Square, and to see like who would come, and all these kids, all these people came. They came dressed up as the characters, and they were going nuts. And it was this thing of like, wow, oh my God, this movie has really actually hit a nerve here, all these years later. So yeah, it's been a fun part to be, just to be a cog in that wheel. So yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Okay, last one I'll ask you about, and then move on to the hometown project.
Oh yeah, sure.
But yeah, Wanderlust. Do you have any fond memories of that?
Yeah, Wonderland, but that's another David Wayne movie. That's a David Wayne, Ken Marino movie. Wet Hot is a David Wayne, Michael Showalter movie. Um, and Wanderlust was another another health insurance situation where I basically said to David, I said, "Look, I'm your only real hippie friend." I was like, "You have to put me in this movie." And so, yeah, so we were down in Georgia for 6 weeks, making that movie. And again, I have the smallest part ever in that movie, and I'm just kind of in that one. I'm really in the background, and playing guitar here and there. But so much fun, and that was what was interesting about that for me was that all of a sudden it was like, yes, it's David and his band of misfits, but all of a sudden,
Mhm.
yeah, we're making a movie with Jen Aniston and Alan Alda, and like it was like, oh wow, okay, this we've really like David and Ken have really stepped it up a notch, because all of a sudden we're doing a studio movie. um and I had also I had by that time worked with Judd Apatow on a couple of movies. So the movie that people most know my music for, there are two. There's a movie called Keeping the Faith, which was an Edward Norton directed movie that it's like the Ed and Ben Stiller, so it's like a priest and rabbi movie. Um,
Mhm.
and that's actually me singing my song that T-Bone Burnett co-produced. Um, but then if I'm gonna name drop a movie to anyone, it's Forgetting Sarah Marshall. So,
Yeah,
so Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Have you seen Forgetting Sarah Marshall?
yeah. It's been many years, but
Yeah.
yes, I mean it was obviously big, huge in its time.
So
Yeah.
it's one of those ones. Now it's a studio movie, but it also has like a real following to it. So I
Yeah.
wrote the Dracula puppet musical at the end of Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
I
Uh,
watched that today before that scene today before
oh, you
we
did? Yeah.
yeah, it was random to see just on its own.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that was great to be kind of in that world for a little bit. I think it wasn't, you know, trying to, for you to have the experience of probably listening to Sweet for the Summer Rain first,
Mhm.
and trying to and feeling the depth that's in that music. The comedy stuff has happened more by accident. I love writing I love writing comedic songs, and I love writing music for comedies, and I love doing it. Um, but if I'm going to make something for myself, I'm not going to make a comedic song. So there's always, there's been a little kind of push and pull sometimes, but because the songs that people know the most are from kind of like relatively silly comedies, and yet the music that I make that's dear to me is not that at all. So, but I guess I feel very blessed to have gotten those comedies. Let's put it that way.
Like big Hollywood actors have to take the cash cow to be able
Yeah,
to
I
do
mean,
the
it's
indie
it
project that they want to do, you know? Yeah.
on a very, very small scale. That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
for me. Yeah.
Well, I mean, still, what cool experiences. I mean, to be present and a part and have those friends and, just be part of that
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah.
It's, it's its own thing separate from, your music, which is, like you said, very, very different than that. But I mean,
Yeah,
again, it's
it's really cool. I still see a lot of people. And then if we were going to talk about the hometown project, I think that the
yeah.
thing that is that, when I'd come up with the idea for the hometown project, part of it was that I had seen what I say is my famous friends like tweeting to the wind. And so
Mhm.
there was all this anger and energy, but it was completely unfocused. And so, for me, it was like, okay, how can we, how can we focus some of that energy? And so when I was talking to an environmental activist, and they said, when Mark Ruffalo went back to his hometown in Kenosha, Wisconsin, to talk about environmental issues, that was really impactful, and a lot more people showed up than we thought were going to show up. And a little light went off in my head, and I thought, wow, I know Mark Ruffalo. Can we get Mark and people like Mark to support local candidates in their hometowns? Can we really get, um, and it's proven to be really, really meaningful, really impactful for lots of candidates, and also the hometown energizers. That's our term for the famous people that primarily make a video either for their hometown candidate, um, or just to get out the vote or give voters information, that kind of thing. Um,
Mm.
and it was the fact that I was involved in all these scenes that gave me the kind of like idea and confidence to say, oh, I want to reach out to so and so. They know me, they trust me, they like me. Would it be, what would it be like to reach out to them and not reach out and say, "Hey, do you want to put my song in your movie?" And so, um, it's been really positive. But part of the reason that Sweet for the Summer Rain and Dance of the Yellow Leaf took so long to come out was that what I like to say is that you know um, the hometown project, I never stopped making music, but the hometown project kind of took my hustle and became, if I was going to hustle somebody to do something, instead of looking at it from a perspective of like, I got to hustle them to like listen to my music or do that, or something regarding my music, it became, I got to hustle them to see if they want to make a video or put me in touch with another person who's actually from the district that's working with the grassroots organization, all that stuff. So it became, um, that's why. And in this year, the end of last year, I was just, it's like, okay, I'm determined. I've been sitting on this music for too long. I have to
You
just,
started in 2012, right?
yeah.
Like,
And
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I was done with it by 2017, something like that. So it took me 5 years, but then when, it's a big production to do live, and I had these records, and I really wanted to do right by them, and so in a way, I had to kind of like also come to terms with that. It's okay if not everybody hears them, if they're just, if I put them out in this digital landscape, which is, just there's just so much content out there, and I have to just be okay with people listening or not listening or whatever that is. And so that's been a process as well. So it's been kind of a combination of those two things, and really feeling at the end of last year like, okay, I have to really purposefully dedicate myself to putting out these records and making sure that people like you who never would have heard them get the
Yeah.
chance to enjoy them, and kind of, and hopefully they can really have some meaning in people's lives, so that's, and no matter how many it is, if it's a million, fine, but if it's 10, that's okay too, so
Yeah, no, I dig it. I appreciate it, and I mean, especially all the work that you put into it and the patience you've had to get it out too. Like, I mean, it's been out for a few days now. How does it
yeah,
feel? How does it
exactly.
feel for it to finally be out?
Well, you know what? It feels great. I think that the thing is, because the Joe's Pub show is on Thursday, I think there's been a lot of like preparation for the show. And since I'm not going on the road with it, it's a giant band, it's string quartet, French horn, vibra, it's a whole giant thing. So, so I think once that show is over, I'll be able to really kind of like sit back for a second and say, okay, all right, great, it's out now, and then and people can find it, and I'll keep pushing the the press angle and try to do more stuff so that people get an opportunity to hear it. Um, but yeah, it does feel good, and uh, and Kevin Calabro from Royal Potato Family, which is a great little label, has been really helpful in helping me organize and put it out.
Awesome, it's awesome. Well, what's next, Peter? After the show, what do we have
Uh,
as we wind down?
well, I will, I'll continue to work on the hometown project this year. We have a bunch of elections that we'll be involved in this year. And then I have two totally different records, that I go by the name, or it goes by kind of Blue Palace. I haven't totally decided if the band is Blue Palace or the albums will be called Blue Palace, but they're like rock records. I have amazing guitar player Jerry Leonard is on one of the records. Jerry played with Bowie for a number of years, um, and so I will look to put those out some point next year. So yeah, yeah, that's
That's cool.
yeah.
Well, keep an eye out for it. Especially if you have someone associated with Bowie. I'm into it.
Oh
There's
yeah,
a yeah.
Jerry's incredible. Jerry plays now with Suzanne Vega. They tour as a duo
Mhm.
together. And yeah, he wrote songs with Bowie, and he was on the road with him for a few years. And so yeah, it just, and he's just great. He's just a really great player. And very unique player, and so it's really cool. And I've got a great band. I mean, it's amazing. It's not just him. So I'm gonna put out those records some point next year.
That's cool. That's cool. Maybe we'll talk around those records then.
That would be awesome. That'd be great. Yeah.
That was my interview with Peter Salett here on Concert Pipeline. And that takes us to the final segment on the program, the music news. Don't have a lot of stories lined up for the music news. I'm out remote right now, and I didn't look up a bunch of stuff to bring to the program. The big, big story, though, is Ozzy. And I just wanted to take a moment to pay respect to Ozzy Osbourne and the legacy that he left behind. I am so appreciative for how Ozzy Osbourne went out. It's such a sad way. I mean, because he had Parkinson's and it hit him, but he got to go out on his terms. He got to play his final show in his hometown for have tens of thousands of fans with some of the biggest rock and metal bands out there. With his band Black Sabbath, and he got to sing songs. And there's a clip out there of, that he recorded after the show of how he didn't take his painkillers that day because he wanted to take pain over uh, over not being able to give the performance that he wanted to give that evening. So thank you, Ozzy. Just I'm going to say thank you. I had a chance to kind of meet Ozzy back in what, like 2010 or 11. He came to Sacramento and did a book signing, and I got a picture with him. And when I was holding my daughter, she was like less than a year old probably, and we have a picture right in front of Ozzy, and I got a book signed by him, which is very awesome. Of course, a lot of my foundation for music was brought on by Ozzy Osbourne. I covered several Oz Fests back in the day as well for the little TV show that I used to do. So I got to see Black Sabbath live. I got to see Ozzy Osbourne live, and those festivals were just incredible. And seeing Ozzy play his hits was something I'll never forget. It's been a while since I've seen him live, but totally appreciated and for everything he brought in. He left a mark, and I compare to Bowie, how Bowie went out on his own terms. This happened while I was on vacation. Also, Bowie left us. I was on vacation in Seattle, and when I got the news that Bowie left us, and but he had just put out Dark Star, his last album, and it was beautiful and incredible, and a fond farewell, for him. So hats off to Ozzy, and we'll catch you in the next life, brother. But let's close out this episode of Concert Pipeline with one more song from Ben Kweller's set. This is one off his new album. This is a song called Depression. For all of us here at Concert Pipeline, I'm Steve Jones. We'll catch you next time.
Joint, but I just can't try. I'll be cemented here deep in my depression, and laughing is a waste of time. I come and go, you know I'm hit or miss, and even when I'm up I can't shake this depression. Waste of time. Maybe I just haven't waited long enough for everything to be okay. I used to pretend that I was strong and tough, but I can't even get through the day. See my reflection and I start to cry. I take a bite, it gets me high on my obsession with eating is a waste of time. The summer air is dancing on my skin. I see your face again, it leaves quite an impression. But ownership's a waste of time. Maybe I just haven't waited long enough for everything to be okay. I used to pretend that I was strong and tough, but I can't even get through the day. Hey, every time my tears pile up on you, fill up the sea.